It's the unpredictability of nature that draws many of us in. And this week, we learn once again that you have to expect the unexpected.
Oh, man.
We're in a remote forest in Minnesota, trying to find some place to call home for the night. And where we end up couldn't be further away from where we had planned to be. This is Tiny Cabin Life. We're in the remote Lake Solitude area, which is a part of the Savannah State Forest in north central Minnesota. It was set aside for the purpose of getting away and experiencing true solitude in the North Woods. There's a trail system that makes its way through the dense forest, and scattered throughout the area are these simple log cabin shelters, built as a place of refuge for hikers, backpackers, and skiers. Today, we're parked off of a forest road on the outer edge of the Solitude area and making our way towards one of these shelters to spend the day and night.
Well, this is kind of exciting. We're headed into one of my favorite places here in Minnesota and staying at a brand new log cabin shelter. Almost every time that I've been here, I've ridden a bike with a trailer in here, pulling lots of gear. But this time, I'm deciding to hike in, and I gotta say, it feels nice to be on foot.
While spring has definitely arrived, the temperature is still very, very cold, hovering right around 32 degrees Fahrenheit. However, it's supposed to warm up a little bit as the day rolls on.
As you can see, it is very, very wet out here. And that's not only due to the snow that melted just from the whole winter, but from the recent snow dump that we just got of about 10 inches. And so this is the time of year where forest roads are muddy, a lot of them are closed down, and the trails are just sloppy like this. Oh man, I see our shelter up here, and it does not look like it's in good shape. Man. Oh no, Al.
The shelter here has definitely seen better days. As you can see, there's a beam which has completely snapped off from the rafters. The roof is crumbling away, and the entire shelter is slowly but surely collapsing forward. But even if this thing was in better shape, there really isn't enough space in there to set up our cot and other gear.
Now there is an outhouse, but I don't think I dare look inside that thing, because if it's anything like that, it'll be a nightmare.
I'm going to take a look at the map here and see if there's a shelter close enough for us to divert to.
All right, so if you take a look at the map here, we're at this shelter right here. And the closest one that I can tell is our shelter on Remote Lake. Now the problem is that it's 2 miles away, which normally isn't that far, you know, but with the amount of weight I have on my back, I just have too much gear for that. Definitely would not be worth it just for an overnighter.
I decided that we'll make our way back to the truck and drive a short distance to another entry point into the forest. From there, it would only be a little over a half mile to the Remote Lake shelter, but the problem is that there's no trail, so we'd be bushwhacking the entire way, which can be very unpredictable and difficult.
Well, it's definitely a bummer when this sort of thing happens, but the reality is that you can only do so much research online when you're dealing with remote places. You really just got to get out there and see what things look like for yourself. And many times I would say they're not what you think they're going to be. All right, let's see if we can have some better luck somewhere else.
man. Okay. So the most direct route to our shelter would hug the shoreline of the lake. Because I see standing water there and just all this brush, I don't think it's feasible to try to take this approach. All right, we do have one more option here. We could try to hug the shoreline, but just do so up on this hillside. So I think we'll hike a little ways of it and see what it looks like. So far this seems pretty good. It's very open in here, very walkable. We'll see if conditions change, but if they don't, this might be our ticket. Well, we're back in the bog, and it's incredibly thick. Yeah, just look at Ellie try to get through this. Yeah. Not ideal, huh, girl? Yeah, and we've got standing water right there, you know, and one misstep and I could go in that, and then we're looking at a hypothermia situation. It's just not worth it. We don't have to get to this shelter. We're not in a survival situation. And with that, I just don't think it's worth the risk right now. It's too cold out here, and we have other options.
From where we are right now, it's only about an hour to our cabin, which is in the Chippewa National Forest, just a little bit further north. And while I hate to admit defeat and have to leave this area, I think it's for the best that we load up in the truck and head to the cabin for the rest of the day and night.
I gotta say, when I left my house at 5 a.m. this morning, I did not think we were gonna end up here. So because I thought we were going to be backpacking today, I have a very simple can of soup for lunch, but it's chicken and dumpling, and I have never had this one before, so I'm kind of excited.
Still can't believe we're here at the cabin. I'm so grateful to have this place, you know? It's definitely not something that I want to take for granted. That's for sure.
The sun came out and the temperature had warmed up into the 40s. And so Ellie and I decided to take some time to just relax on the porch. In fact, the weather was so nice that I thought I might as well take the bike out and see how she's running.
Oh my gosh, last week we're riding a snowmobile, this week a motorcycle. If that doesn't say Minnesota, I don't know what does.
All right, everyone, we're going to take a quick pause in the adventure so I can tell you about the sponsor of this week's video, Jackery.
Jackery's motto is always prepared, always powered, and that could not be more of a necessity for us in our household nowadays, especially with a young daughter and more on the line. And so with that, I want to introduce you to the Jackery Solar Generator 5000 Plus and how it works with the Essential Home Backup. So here's what Essential Home Backup is. It provides power to the devices in your home that you need the most, and thus making it much more cost-effective and affordable compared to a whole home backup system. Having Essential Home Backup is really important to us because we live in Minnesota where storms come through and knock out the power fairly regularly. Now we rent our home here, so we're still in the process of getting it approved to be installed, but with a licensed electrician, you can get this thing hooked up to your home power in moments. So here's how it works. If you take a look at our solar generator here, that's what's storing all of our backup power. Now that power can be supplied either from the grid or through solar if you choose. In fact, if you take a look at these two cases here, that's got 1,000 watts of solar that we have at our disposal if we need it. So here's how this is important to our family. First and foremost, if the power gets knocked out, we can keep our life running and keep little Olivia comfortable. This thing's got a 7,200 watt output, which means we can power anything from our fridge to our microwave, even our washer and dryer. Second, this will keep my office powered. The smart transfer switch will reinstate power in 20 milliseconds. You will never even know that you are missing it. And so as the sole provider of our family, it's really important for me to know that I can keep doing my job even if the power goes out. I also love the multi-functionality of this system. For instance, our solar generator here has so many options for us, especially if we choose to take it on the road. You can see it's got the wheels and the handle, which makes traveling with it a breeze. It also has so many outputs. I mean, look at all those wall outlets. You've got a DC port, plenty of USB. It even has an RV port, as well as a port for charging an EV. Storm season is here, so if you want Essential Home Backup from Jackery, all you have to do is follow the link in the description of this video. It's a really cool unit, and I love their dedication to affordability and keeping you powered when you need it the most.
And so with that, let's get back to the adventure. By the time I got back to the cabin, it was starting to get a little bit later, and so I figured we might as well get a little campfire going.
Well, today has kind of turned into a chill, relaxing day. Just with all the disruptions earlier and changes of plans, we're kind of running out of daylight. But I figured we might as well head down to the dock and do a fire down here, kind of change things up a little bit.
is it gorgeous down here right now. It's kind of surreal how there's ice out on the lake, but it's so thin that you can just see the blue water coming up from underneath. It's like the perfect image of spring. You know, I said earlier that I was bummed that we didn't get to do what we set out to do today. But now sitting here watching the sun go down, feels like we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
Now that we were in the cabin for the night, figured it was time to make some dinner. Dear God, thank you for another beautiful day in your creation and for the safety and warmth of this cabin. Amen.
So originally, I was going to make this breakfast sandwich over the fire at our log cabin shelter. Now, if I knew we were going to be here, I probably would have brought more food. But, it is what it is. This is going to taste good and should be pretty filling as well. That is so good. I love that we've got sausage, egg, hash browns, and cheese. It's just kind of like the perfect mixture for a good breakfast sandwich. Alright guys, I'm just making the coffee so that it's ready to roll in the morning. I have to get home for something fairly early, so we're gonna pack up and go as quickly as we can. However, there's a hike that I really want to do tomorrow. It's awesome in the springtime, and so we're gonna do that on our way out of here. Well, I'll see you guys bright and early in the morning. Good night.
Well, I gotta say, it was a pretty nice impromptu trip up to the cabin. And even though we were only there for less than, 24 hours, it was really nice to just kind of take it easy for once. Sit by the fire, relax a bit, and just enjoy being in the North Woods.
We're heading down a trail that leads to a dispersed backpacking site here in the National Forest. Many of the trails in the forest are multi-use, but this one is set aside just for hikers. And if it looks familiar, it's because we did an overnighter here basically a year ago, and I've wanted to hike back into the lake ever since.
It is gorgeous here in the forest today. That sunlight peeking through, illuminating the pines. Just magical.
The lake here is a beautiful example of how glaciers created many of the bodies of water here in Minnesota. The ice created depressions in the earth, but then as it melted, it filled up with water. And this lake particularly demonstrates that as it's sunken in amongst the surrounding landscape.
I just love this lake. It's just so nice and tucked away back here. And I love how it's surrounded by all the beautiful pines. It just has such a peaceful quality to it. Almost like a little oasis back here. All right, everybody, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for coming along. Man, I had no idea that we were gonna end up here, but again, that's what happens when you go out into nature. Sometimes things don't go as planned and you gotta roll with the punches. But man, what an awesome adventure we had. From getting out in the remote Lake Solitude area yesterday, doing some bushwhacking, exploring, to getting to relax at the cabin and then ending it with an amazing hike to this beautiful lake here. I just want to thank all of you for watching, but give a special shout out to our patrons who generously donate to this channel. Thank you guys so much. But again, all of you who watch this channel, thank you. You're the ones that allow us to be able to do this on a weekly basis, and we are so grateful. But with that, it's time for me to get home to the girls. We'll see you next week. God bless.